Listen, the one thing we need to know and understand is this solved a very big problem for media companies. The Fubo lawsuit obviously was trying to ensure that media companies weren't able to bundle. And that would have devastating effects on these bigger media companies that still make a lot of money from cable. So for $220 million plus the combination of this venture with both Hulu Plus and Fubo, they've really solved a lot of problems both in the lawsuit and in driving scale in the industry, which will hopefully let them kind of build out new consumer propositions.
Paul, do you also think that decision by Disney to merge with Fubo and also launch its ESPN streaming product is kind of enough to, I guess you would say, future-proof its revenue from accelerated cord cutting, which we know continues?
Well, listen, there's still a long-term trend where we're seeing a decline in the total reach of cable. But this most certainly lets them launch the new venue opportunity where there is a strong value proposition behind sports and finding a level of aggregation that will really solve a consumer challenge of where do I find my sports and how do I watch them. So this is a win for consumers in that this product will begin to be launched, and hopefully we'll also find a path for these media companies to continue to address some of the reach concerns they have over the loss of cable subscriptions.
Yeah, so let's go there and give us an understanding of how you think they navigate this tricky terrain here. I mean, the cord cutting that we've seen over the last 15 years or so has just absolutely devastated the traditional pay TV providers and even those cable companies that have been carrying that content. These companies, apart from Netflix, are really trying to figure out what to do. What happens to the smaller content players now, the Warner Brothers Discoveries, the Paramounts, and the like, in an environment such as this?
Yeah, listen, I think every CEO and every person in a media company today is trying to figure out how do they future-proof their business. And what we can see and what we can tell, right, from all Gen Z consumption is that Gen Z consumers are going to YouTube and going to TikTok. They're watching a ton of short-form content. They spend 3 hours a day on YouTube and TikTok compared to 1 hour a day with broadcasts and streamers. And this is a growing trend among all demographics. So personally, where I believe these media companies need to be focused is how do I begin to own the whole conversation around my IP and my content and think about developing a short form content and product strategy that really addresses these Gen Z consumers, the way that they like to interact with content, the way they consume it in these moments versus lean back experiences, the way they like to engage. I think that's the real opportunity for media companies today if they really want to think about their future and not ceding it to these other platforms.
So should Netflix be concerned because they don't necessarily have that short form content that TikTok has, that YouTube Shorts, that Instagram Reels has?
I certainly believe so. And if you would follow my LinkedIn post this last couple of weeks, you'll actually know I was challenging Netflix largely because of Beyonce Bowl. I'm a huge Beyonce fan, Cowboy Carter fan. I was super excited for having Netflix having the Christmas NFL. You too? See, you love it, right? Well, you go and watch the game, right? They made a huge push for people to watch this NFL game on Christmas Day. I personally, all I really cared about was watching the halftime show with Beyonce. 10 minutes after the broadcast, it was nowhere to be found. No one had thought about the fact that they needed to actually clip it immediately and post it and make it available for their consumers. Instead, I watched it on YouTube, right?
Wow.
So it created a huge opportunity for YouTube to monetize a huge event when Netflix didn't own the conversation. And if they had other tools and a product focused on shorts, they could have really owned the entire conversation, right? So it's not just about Beyonce, it's the behind the scenes, and most importantly, all the social engagement that happens around it. So I think that's a real opportunity for Netflix and all the streamers out there to be thinking about owning the conversation and making sure they're not just focused on long form, they need to have a short form content experience that's social-like.